got one question for you. Are you ready?
What is going on, everybody? It is an amazing day out in lovely, internet land. So what's going on? We got the amazing, let me add Darcy on. What's going on, buddy?
Thank you. I'm chilling. How you doing?
Doing good. AKA Steven. Well, yeah. So his real name is Steven, but amazing band. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. Darcy we'll be talking about it. It's unique and I loved it. So we will talk about it in a few seconds. But how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
I at least am not. I mean, yesterday was a little. We had 24-mile-per-hour winds. It was a little windy here, a little dusty.
Are you based in Florida?
No, I'm in Mesa. I'm in Mesa, Arizona. But the man himself survived a hurricane and is yet still talking to us.
Wow.
He did not get drowned. He did not get pulled away into the ocean. He is still with us today. What's going on, Chef?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I've been kind of working the last 3-4 days cleaning up all this mess, but nothing crazy. I look at this as kind of like a blessing that I didn't have to go through any more, any of the stuff that people in Southern Florida had to deal with. And I always look at the silver lining of things, and it always could be a lot worse. So really, cleaning up what I had to clean up was nothing compared to what people are going through right now. So thoughts out to them down south.
Totally. Prayers all around. We also were concerned. This is my daughter's first hurricane. She's, as everybody knows, she works for Universal / now Disney again. So out in Orlando, and by the time that it got to her, and it went right over her, but it was like a Category 3, which, that's still pretty bad. It's not great. There's still a lot of rain. It's still a hurricane. But she felt like, it was doable. She stayed in place. She hung out with her friend, had some snacks, had some water. I'm sure that's what you had to get through this.
Yeah, it's definitely scary. I mean, when I say if you're a first timer in Florida, first year, kind of like here, it's you don't know what to expect. You're kind of going through it, and you're going crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because you're preparing for the worst. Which I mean, you obviously have to prepare for the worst when you go through a hurricane here. Sometimes sometimes it'll miss you. Sometimes it'll, projected to go towards you, but sometimes it'll skip. But you never know. Sometimes
that's the weird thing about hurricanes is that you never know, and it's Mother Nature does its own thing, and you never know what's going to happen. And luck. I mean, I feel sorry for Fort Myers. Definitely prayers out to those folks in that area. Definitely a huge amount of flooding. A lot of people saving lives right now. Trying to pick up their lives after that hurricane hit them at a hurricane, at a 5. So that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And
I have family, like some family friends and family down there, and people that I know that are in that area, Lakeland, and not Lakeland, but Fort Myers and Naples and stuff like that. So
it's crazy, man. It's crazy stuff. I'm glad that you're safe, though. And again, prayers out to everybody out there. There's a lot of funds out there right now running around. Go donate. Do some stuff if you're out in that area. Help out as much as you can. So
and donate to the right funds because there's a lot of schemers out there.
Right. That's what happens every time. So make sure you're very savvy with who you're donating to. My dad gave me like the 20. So I'm doing this 2,000 push-up challenge for soldier suicide prevention, and it's run by my company, so USAA. And so I was like, oh, cool, I can totally get down with that. And then, my dad was like asking me 20 million questions like, hey, do you know where this money goes? And blah, blah, blah. He was just going through it. I'm like, yeah, it's run by my company. So it's a charity run by my company. Right. We're giving the money to the people. So
local radio station that was pushing a link to make sure that you're donating to the right places as well. So
yeah, good idea.
that's,
Good idea.
yeah.
Yeah, but definitely making sure, and that's what I was. At least he was keen and aware that it doesn't all go to the right places sometimes, which is sad. So, Darcy, that's what we're here for. Darcy, we're gonna pitch this down a little bit back to where our roots are, and this is about desserts right now. So we're gonna talk a little bit about desserts, a little bit about food. And I know you brought something special, and it's one of my favorite companies as well. So what did you get, my friend?
Oh, it's nothing excessive. I got Ben and Jerry's.
What
Ben and
flavor?
Jerry's. What is it? What is it though?
It's a topped dirt cake. I've never had it before. It sounded good. I realized it was topped, which is like when it has like the hard shell on top.
Oh yeah,
So I wasn't sure if y'all were gonna ask me to like open it. So like during the intro, I like opened it and I like smashed it up, so it'd be like easier if y'all asked me to do that like on camera.
Let's see it. Let's see this smashed up ice cream. Let's do this smashed up
It's
ice
just a
cream.
couple spoon marks. It's like not
There
even
you
anything crazy, man.
That's still awesome though. Ben and Jerry's has been around a long time, and it is so good. It's like comfort food, really. It's comfort ice cream. It is like a go-to, and they have like so many varieties of really good flavors that you're like, yeah, this is so good. I remember the first time I had it, I was up in college, and this was a long time ago, but so good. And I was always like, man, they come out with crazy flavors. I was always after like, what was it, moose drool or something like that. It's so good.
Moose tracks. Yeah,
Moose tracks. There we go. Moose tracks. I knew it was moose something. I like moose drool, moose track, something moose, something with a moose. But I was like, yeah, that was so good. But and of course, I am still sticking to my diet, my friends. I still am kicking in there. I have been deciding that I do take a little bit of a cheat day every once in a while where I eat some regular food that me and my family's eating, like pizza or something, but limiting, like not getting 5 plates of it, limiting consumption, and then also just, trying to eat more protein in it. So getting chicken instead of steak or whatever. It's been fun though. I've enjoyed it. Still feeling good, man. I'll tell you, I feel the best I have since probably 30 years, man. 30 years. It's
awesome.
It's good. It's good. And so tonight I'm just simple shake after pro.
What kind of shake?
It's strawberry kiwi.
There you go.
So yeah, it was fresh strawberries, fresh kiwi, smashed up with some Greek yogurt and some supplement stuff. So trying to make it a little bit more I make it a post workout. So I just went and did what I call push day, which is like chest and push-ups and all sorts of pushing things, military presses, things like that. So fun stuff. And I feel so much better. So I think that there's still hope. Even if you want to get some good desserts or something tasty, you can still go on a great diet and still eat some really amazing stuff. So there's still a lot of stuff.
It's just all portion control. You're not like,
it is. It's not a whole bunny. It's not a whole bunny at Easter.
Exactly.
It's not 15 portions of a bunny. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. If you have like 3 portions out of 15, you're good. So
exactly. I'll tell you, it's crazy that I don't try to hit the scale, but when I do just take a look at it and go, I feel better. And that's what that's what keeps motivating me is I feel better. I am doing this 2000 push-up challenge. So I've gotten to like 280 in 4 days. So I'm doing 70 a day. Nice. Plus I'm doing my normal exercises. Plus in November, I'm doing a 5K. So, just really pushing myself to get healthy. And, at this stage, I'm so just everybody know, I am still this side of the 40s, but only by 1 year. So, so I am 49 on Friday.
When you make it to like that big 50, you are. I know, really.
I want to be in shape by 50.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. By the time you get there, like you're set. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I want the next 30, 40 years to be really good. And that means I have to stay in shape and be a little more health conscious and eat good desserts. Still eat good desserts, but just not as much of them. It's still good stuff.
Right.
I still love Ben and Jerry's, but I don't have to eat the whole carton.
Exactly.
So, but we know we bow down to the man, the myth, the legend. He is the chef. We love the man. What did you bring today, my friend? Plus dogs. He brought some dogs too. We'll see. What did you bring, my friend? Oh, he's got the big screen. He's yelling at
Calm him
dogs.
down first. He literally barks at my mom every time he sees her, and he sees her every day.
He loves her.
If she comes out of her room or comes out from outside, he barks at her like nothing. I've never seen her before. She's a burglar. So I brought seriously, like, bro, appreciate you. Like, even, I mean, hey, it's a good guard dog. Like, it'll.
That's right.
I mean, it's gonna bark and let you know people are there. So I did. And actually, it's a suggestion from actually somebody that's in the chat right now, Kim.
Nice.
It's a maple cream pie.
Oh, my word. Already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone's already crushed out. My mom crushed out a little bit too. I did, obviously. I'm guilty of it, but mom.
It's good. It's good.
I'm not sure if I like it, but she kept on eating it. So I had like a quarter of that. She's like just crushed it. So
I love it though. What is it? So to give us a little bit of ingredients on this one.
So I used we had some extra pie crust at work, so I used the extra, frozen pie crust. That's fine. I mean, you can make your own. But if you have a frozen pie crust, it's definitely a lot easier. Easy both ways. If you can make your own pie crust, but for frozen pie crust, 400 degrees, let it thaw out, kind of poke some holes in it so it doesn't, inflate and kind of, aerates a little bit, and put that in there about 12 to 15 minutes. Let it cool, and then while that's baking, 3 cups of half and half, 1 cup of brown sugar, 4 egg yolks, half cup of maple syrup, 1/3 cup of cornstarch, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So you're kind of mixing that in the pot, let it kind of heat up, let it thicken up really thick, and then add vanilla, teaspoon of vanilla, and then literally drop it in your cooled pie crust and throw it in the cooler or refrigerator for about 6 hours to let it set.
And it looks good, and it's mom approved, everybody. It's mom approved.
Yep.
So that's awesome. So Darcy, Steven, got a question for you. When you're going out and about, my friend, when you are out and about, you're playing right before you go into a gig or you're recording something, what is your go-to snack food?
Honestly, I try not to eat right before I record or I play. I don't know if this is just like a mental thing, but I feel like when my body recognizes it needs something, like when I'm hungry and my body's telling me you need to like go out there and fulfill this need, it just kind of like activates something that makes me work a little harder and push myself a little harder. And that may just be like a mental thing. That just may be something that's like almost like self-motivational or self-imposed. But I tend to find that like if I don't allow myself to be satisfied when I'm about to do something, I tend to perform better. If that makes sense.
No,
That makes sense. You
totally.
kind of have that like want, and you're like, you can't have that until you're done.
Yeah, exactly. And then afterwards, it's like, okay, I did it. Now I can like
reward.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love it. That's a great answer. What is your go-to like outside? Like you're like maybe you're out and about, and you're like on tour. What would you say is your go-to food for like restaurant wise?
What I can afford right now, honestly, whatever's in the budget is my go-to. I'm flattered that you brought up tour. I've yet to get to that stage, but I like to think in the coming years it'll happen and I'll have a proper answer for that question.
For sure. No, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Beginning at the beginning or the end or wherever you're at in this journey, it's all about the music. And man, let's dip into this. Let's dip into this music. I was like, I don't know what to expect. I looked it up and I'm like, started listening to it and I'm like, this is really good. Now, what I really like about it is rap is really cool. Kind of rapping, and then also you do some reggae, which is really cool. But additionally, I like I like where your lyrics are at. And I think personally, that's what I really connected with the most. I mean, that's what you do with a rapper anyway, but sometimes you're into the background, you know, some of the stuff that you're also doing in the background. But I really dig how you integrated that with great lyrics that were very, you can tell, very personal. And I really get down with somebody who personally tells us about their own journey. So
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, good time. So I take it that, and I saw that you were self-produced, but you've worked with a lot of different artists, and I could hear, I mean, I heard jazz in there. I'm hearing some great background, and I'm just like, how did you get all hooked up into that? I mean, jazz is like pardon my phrasing, old people music. It's not really, but it's like a lot of, you know, it's a lot, you slow down, chill. Jazz is more of that background music, but I really like how you integrated it, and then you threw in some different background tracks that were really super good. So but I really wanted to hear about musically where you came from to get why this music was expressed the way that it was.
So I have my answer to that question would be twofold. The first part is just that I've played in a variety of like musical settings. I started just like playing guitar. I was taking lessons out of like a closet in a guitar store. When I was like 11 is when I started. In high school, I played guitar in the jazz band, and I didn't know anything about jazz at the moment. I had someone told me they needed a guitarist, so I signed up. It was very much a what's it called? It was like figuring out it as I went along. I to this day I still don't have any formal musical training beyond those guitar lessons and a couple voice lessons I took about a year and a half ago. But I played in that jazz band. I had a band towards the end of high school through the beginning of college. And then where I really feel like I started to find like musical identity was I dropped out of school and decided I wanted to pursue music. And I met some really incredible musicians that have just kind of like shaped the way I play and the way I write, especially back in Pittsburgh. Like to shout out a couple people, like my friend Randy, my friend Vinny. They're incredible musicians. Vinny plays drums on a lot of the recordings. Randy is like a lot of the trumpet and like the brass and the jazzier influence you hear. His brother Josh also plays like saxophone, so all three of them are on the jazzier stuff. But there's a lot of collaboration there and a lot of bouncing ideas back and forth when we get together. So I would say that has a big musical influence on me. um, when I moved to Nashville, I moved in with other musicians that I met on Facebook, and they Molly and Scott, and they have had a very like big impact on my sound. Molly's an incredible vocalist. She performed the duet on the album. She does background vocals and violin on some stuff. And my roommate Scott, he's an all around like very good songwriter, really talented, really clean producer. So I feel that just having known the people that I've gotten to know and being in the musical settings I've gotten to be in, I've just been fortunate enough to be exposed to like a lot of different things that have shaped my sound and kind of the direction I want to take my music in.
And I was going to ask that too, with how you kind of directed your sound and how you got it. And it's cool to kind of have that, those doors open and you meeting different people that have, I'm saying, becoming friends with different people that have different, musical backgrounds, and kind of learn from them as well and kind of create your sound. You know what I'm saying? But literally, I think I listened more of the Roses in Reality and kind of dug more in depth than the other stuff. And definitely I took it as like you can almost kind of write a play with it. You know what I'm saying? Because you have act 1, act 2, act 3.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Each act tells a story. Each one is different. Each one starts with an instrumental. One's more different. One instrumental is more different than the other. One's more like upbeat. The other one's kind of like, a little bit more kind of downish. And the other one's kind of like, starting something new or something like kind of just, but the way I got it from is kind of maybe starting a relationship. Maybe, you know what I'm saying, you're starting fresh in a relationship. Kind of the second act is mostly kind of in like a rocky relationship, I guess. you can tell me if I'm wrong, and I'm just kind of piecing together how I got it, and then maybe like the third act is more like maybe moving on from
Yeah, you're
you know
right
like
on. You're right on. That's
like
exactly
that's
the
literally
arc I
right
was
before we
trying
came
to
on. I
do.
listened to it again. I listened to everything again. I think it started at like 8:30, and listened to it more in depth. So actually it would be fresh in my mind. But literally that's what I took from everything.
Cool. Yeah, you're right on. That's exactly what it is.
Awesome, and that's why I even told my mom that, like what I thought it would be, and yeah. So, oh, that's awesome. It's very well written, and I'm
Thank you.
glad that you even explained to like, hey, you have to listen to us in each act. You can't like go 3, 1, 2, or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't space it out. You can't mix it up a little bit. You have to listen to it in order, and you get that.
Yeah, I'm really glad you listened to it that way. I tend to when I do I don't want to do an album unless something has a reason to be in an album format. Especially with the way you can release music now. Like if I write a song that's like a standalone, this is a song that's just a song and there's no overarching story to it, I'm gonna put it out as a single. Because I feel that uh the idea of an album can be used for like storytelling in a really unique way. So when I approach one, I want to have some kind of experience that someone can get out of it rather than it just being like a group of assorted songs. Not that there's anything wrong with that, just for me
Right.
personally, that's what I prefer to do.
Oh, I love that. And then, but that's what makes it a journey, and that's why I like albums. You could release all these in an EP and but you wouldn't get the same. I think, James, you're onto it. Is that this was a journey album and a growth album, and I could tell that there was pieces of it that were definitely, as you were progressing, it was getting to, it was part of a journey, and I don't think you could have released these tracks in any other way unless
No.
you were. I can't even think of how you could, because these were all really nice pieces, but they definitely added, a journey to that the album really helps cover.
It's literally like you said. It's a story. You have to
Yeah.
listen to it. There's like I said, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and like I said, I even told my mom that it's almost like you can put a play. You can make a play out of this. I'm saying you can start each one with the instrumental as well, and play it out like your performance. You know what I'm saying? It's really very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so this is my other question. So to me, this sounded very personal, very much like part of your own journey. And some of the experiences that I know that a lot of people I know have been through, some of the mental distress, and some of the things that you were talking about in some of these songs, which I definitely understood and was like, yeah, man, I'm glad that he's talking about this kind of stuff, because it should be normalized that this stuff is. And then the fact that you also show how you rose to challenge it and get beyond it is a really good part of a journey, right? And so, but I think that really, to me, I'm always about that mental care and self-care, but knowing where you were at and then being able to progress through that, getting the help, maybe not even, some of the songs about got your experience in one of those suicide prevention places where, that's as down as you can get. I understand that. And so it's good that you had this whole journey around it and you were able to show where you were at and maybe where you ended up at in a definitely different place. So is that kind of a personal story, or is that something that you kind of like, this is society and this is kind of a story about that?
So to give context, I'd imagine you're talking about the song "Time Out," which is just about a stay in the psych ward.
Right.
But the story to that was to get personal for a moment is let me think 2021, around I want to say April or May, before I moved to Nashville. I was diagnosed with a variety of uh conditions or whatever, and one of them was bipolar 2 disorder, and I had a psychiatrist that put me on antipsychotics at the time, and I was on those for about 9 months. Later in my life, I found out that that diagnosis was deemed to be incorrect, and now I believe I have a more accurate diagnosis. But at the time, I never needed to be on antipsychotics. They were never necessary. So
Uh-huh.
once I went on them, that actually created a lot of mental turmoil, a lot of struggle. I was having panic attacks like constantly. And so that led to like the headspace I was in where I felt like I wasn't grounded. I felt like genuine extreme distress is how I would put it. Just like I didn't feel that I had like a moment to like catch my breath or like a moment of calmness when I was on them. And that did lead to me spending some time in the psych ward. So that song, I didn't use any names, and I changed some details so that I wasn't telling anyone's specific story or like putting anyone's information out there out of like just like respect. But generally speaking, that story is like verbatim what happened.
That's
Wow.
it's yeah, and I've actually I know some people that have been in the same situation, and they explain that's the reason why I was like, I went to go visit them, and they explained exactly the same thing, where nurses are talking, and some crazy things are happening over here, and roommate like had a psychotic breakdown, and one of my daughter actually was there for a long time when she in her teens, and it was just interesting because it was like took me back to that time frame where it was like, yeah, this is real, this is really what happens in a place like this. And then also along with your, and this is what inspires me, is my, as long as you and my daughter have something very similar, which is getting the right diagnosis, getting the right help, and then being able to overcome, which is, that's a story, that's a really good journey for me. And that's something that my daughter's doing really well now. She has a kid, she's doing well, but in her teens and late teens, it was really a difficult situation. So I really identified with where you were at and what was going on in that experience, and to me that just brought me back. And it was a good experience because now she's in a different space, but it was scary.
Mhm.
And yeah, and that's
And
kind
I
of what
appreciate you for sharing that as well.
yeah,
I'm
I
saying.
totally appreciate
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And it's real. And that's the thing that I liked about what we've had, a couple musicians that are just real. There's people that sing songs about love and, things that are really feeling and passionate, but this I could tell was real, and as real as it got. And your lyrics were very specific about how real it was and description of it. You described it in such a way that I could, even if I hadn't had that experience, I probably could imagine having that experience and what it was like and how scary it was by the way that you were writing your lyrics, which is real and very raw. I appreciated that a lot in your music.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yeah, and but those are things that make you who you are as a musician, being able to express that. And I think actually sometimes that is like therapy in itself, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, writing it on paper and kind of getting it out there and expressing yourself and what you've been through. It kind of it releases some of that stuff that you've been through. You know what I'm saying? Kind of causes, I guess, makes your own little like therapeutic way. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Especially when you're young. I mean, and you are still young in my book, but in your, in your in that your early child or late childhood, early adulthood, it is always such, there's so much journey and so much struggle at the very beginning of that. And I know my daughters, actually all of my kids, I have 6 kids, and they all are struggle. They're there now, some of them, and it's still just trying to figure out who you are, where the next, and this is the cool thing is that this is such a fun age too. You can decide. I remember telling my daughter just yesterday, you can wake up every day and decide to be something new. You don't have to wake up. And I mean, that still goes for old people too, but most of us are settled. But in your early 20s and mid 20s, you can make a decision to be something new and different, like what your decision is in making music. You said, I could go back to college and do something I really don't want to do, or I could do something I love. Right. And that's where you're at, and you made it happen. Look, you're in Nashville where music is happening, and you're with roommates and folks around you that surround you by that music. So that's really cool. And you can tell that influence is helping you with your music.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So
what do you got, what do you have going on in Nashville right now? I mean, I know you're from I said you're from Philadelphia, so what do you got going on in Nashville?
So right now, I've been spending a lot of time in the studio. Here. I have my setup here. But I just sent my next 2 singles out to stores yesterday. Did some photo shoots for the covers, sent those out. I'm playing a house show on the 21st of this month. Nothing crazy, but I'm very much like, I feel very strongly about the music I'm about to put out. So I'm trying to get together for the first time like a genuine like budget and a marketing plan for it, because I feel that the more I learn and the more consistently I do this, um the more, what am I trying to say? I feel that I'm getting better at what I do is what I'm trying to say. And the more I feel that way, the more I feel like, okay, the time is like getting right to start like investing in this and making like genuine plans, because now it's not just me writing songs in my bedroom for myself. It's me being like, okay, take the vision, put a level of like technicality in it, put a level of like marketability in it, like trying to make just like a genuine product, but like not abandoning like the authenticity and the artistry at all, just learning how to take something that I'm passionate about and turn it into something that could hopefully be a career at some point.
True.
Well, I think you've already started that career. Honestly, you're putting out an album with that you can be proud of, and I'm sure that you can be proud of. And I read your bio that you were kind of like in closets and attics producing this album.
Yeah.
And it was all self-produced. And I think that this is sometimes your freshman album is sometimes the rawest, and sometimes you'll learn definitely some more stuff over time. But you're definitely learning, and as a career, that's the way it always is. You always start in that junior level and then work your way up. And I think that as you and this was a great debut, right? Well mixed, well balanced, and I think it only gets better from there. And you're meeting the right people now, which is definitely influential to your career. So yeah, I think you've already started your career, to be honest.
I never even thought about it like that.
It's true.
That's cool. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be cool. This is a good experience. And I think from the moment you said, or the moment that you started in you're in your closet and said, or the closet guitar store place, you said, yeah, I'm going to try out music, see where it goes. And once you do that, for every musician, it's a different experience for every musician. Some of us become pro, some of us become playing guitar in our closet. Like me, I have all this equipment in my closet, but and I'm playing for the cats, but but this is where, but that's still, I love playing music. I love creating music, and I chose not to go down your route because I wasn't that passionate. I didn't want to sleep in vans and stuff like that, but I made some choices, but it's still a musical journey. And for you, that's what your life is going to be about. It started off when you were 11, and now it's blossoming. You're in Nashville, Tennessee. Look where it's brought you. The place where like stars and craziness is. We've had a couple people. My sister's in Nashville, which Nicole, and so she has been in Nashville for a while and absolutely loves it. That's the place where music's happening right now. That, Austin, and LA, right? And apparently Pennsylvania.
I'll say this. Some of the most unique acts I've ever seen have been out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. There's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of talent there right now.
I agree. We've had bands from, now we've Pittsburgh, which is where, we had Pittsburgh, Lebanon. I mean, all the area around Lebanon. So, where Chaos Guitar and all those folks are from. So we had metal bands. We've had, just rock bands, hard rock bands. Now we have Darcy in here hanging out with us now in Nashville. And some of the other folks were in Nashville too, but for some reason coming out of Pennsylvania, apparently the water there is full of stuff that you need to get to become a healthy musician.
And literally we weren't even trying to like get people from like Pennsylvania.
We're
It would
not
just
from
be like,
Pennsylvania.
it would be like, where are you guys from? We're in Pennsylvania. I'm like, oh my God. We're like, it's not, we're not even trying. Like, I know that there was the 2 months that we did like the Pennsylvania bands for the festival that they have for Chaos Guitars, and but yeah, it literally like he said, it's been amazing to listen to these bands coming out of Pennsylvania. Period. Like, because there is a lot of talent that's in there, and
You being one of them, my friend, you being
yeah.
one of them, moving out to Nashville,
Mm.
Tennessee. How was your experience? And I mean, it sounds like you're surrounded by great musicians, but other than that, what else is it like to be in Nashville and being like, this is my career? Now, I'm sure that you have like a day job to help kind of fund stuff,
Oh
but
yeah. So much of my experience here the first year has just been like trying to find day jobs and stuff. For a while I was working two jobs. I was working at a grocery store during the week, at a diner on the weekends. I'd have like maybe like one day off a week and then like 50, 60 hours the rest of the week, just cuz
oh
like
wow.
I'm renting here, I'm financing a car, just all the basic early 20s expenses that like I was totally unprepared for, and now I gotta figure that out, you know. But I
What is
find that
your
the
what does your parents think? Do your parents are all like, he's doing his own thing? That's cool.
nah, they my mom likes my music a lot. My mom and my dad,
Nice.
they're both
There you go.
very supportive
Nice.
of what I want to do.
That's awesome to hear,
Right.
man. That's
Even
so
having that,
huge. That's
having
so
that support,
huge.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Jay.
No, so having that support is definitely even more motivating as well to get your stuff done. Even if they didn't, you know what I'm saying, it's still motivation, but at least you have that support from them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in your early 20s where, family. My daughter has a conversation. She is 25. She still calls her daddy every day and says, "Hey, what's up, dad?" And we talk about Comic Cons and Disney. She's just got a job. She's kind of doing what you're doing. She wants to be an artist now. So, or no, now she wants to be I don't think she wants to be something creative, but also she wants to work with animals. So I don't know what she wants to do, but happy. I think as a parent of your age, kids of your age, that's what we're looking for is just you to be happy. And I think that doing what you love is so important for anybody just to be happy doing what you're doing, even though it may be 60 hours a week, but you get to do what you love in the meantime. This thing is still happening for you. You still produced an album. It's out there in the world. People are listening to it, right?
Mhm.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Are you gonna be like performing like the Roses in reality? Like, are you going on like doing shows and gigs and stuff like that? You have those lined up or
I
not yet?
I have one show lined up and it's a house show right now.
Sure.
I'm really just like reworking like my live show to get a lot of new material in. The singles I have coming up this year, I'd imagine are going to be pretty central to the new show because right now just like I have a lot of different styles out. Like I have some stuff that's like rap based. I have some stuff that's like acoustic and folky, like the Roses and Reality stuff. I have some stuff that I'm working on that's just like indie rock, like vibe music. So the question for me now is how can I combine this all into one coherent set that's like an enjoyable night out experience for the people that come, you
Because
know?
I was gonna say, like, if you're playing the Roses in reality, I mean, you would almost have to play it in its entirety because
Mhm.
you have to tell the story. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? It's
yeah.
not a song. I
There's
mean, you can play one song. I mean, it'd be fine. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, just finding that good mix of a set list to kind of to bring it out there to mix each one of your genres that you'd like to perform.
for sure, for sure.
What I think is that you could get away with it if you start hitting that EDM almost, because you almost are in that space already. EDM has that wide variety where you could be able to play all of your tracks and be able to get away with all of it, right? Because it's all like it's in that space where I don't know. World music is another category that people use for when you can't classify everything because they have so many variety. I mean, there's reggae in there, there's jazz, but I think that you could go into that space easily, like EDM-ish world music genre and get away with it all day long and say that's what your concert, play at a venue that I think you get away with it is awesome.
Word, yeah. I honestly don't know a lot about EDM as a genre. So that could be something to look into for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And there's folks, and I know that there's folks in Nashville that help kind of figure out your genre with you. People like publicists like Nicole, she's really excellent at that. Being able to figure out where to label you, and then once you can do that, then you can be able to reach out to people to publicize and get yourself out there in the right places. And that's the hardest thing I think about this business is marketing yourself. How do you market your music when it's unique? Right? You don't fit into a specific genre. You're a little bit of everything. But I think sometimes that's real. That to me, that's special because that means you can fit into. You're not just pigeonholed into something that a million other people are.
Right.
I listen to country music and I listen to a lot of, and I watch a lot of Instagram. I would say that you're one of the most unique acts that's out there for sure.
Word. Word. Thank you. Thank you.
Ye-
I hope to continue being that way.
Yeah, well, it's because what you're doing is pushing the envelope for all sorts of different things, and you're real about it and raw about it. I enjoy that kind of stuff more than I like somebody trying to make more pop country and trying to make more top 40 stuff. I enjoy metal. I enjoy metal. Metal is its own special love for me that will always be there. But when it comes to like country, I've heard country pop for a long time. And there's a lot of country artists that are out there in TikTok land, and they all sound the same. Where you're coming in with a different, almost I was like Eminem at times. I was like, hey, he's, that kind of rap where you're like, hey, this is really raw. And then, you're also playing some jazz in the background, which I love. So it was in reggae. I thought the reggae piece was really cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. What do you say to that? I'm just you're like, yeah,
No,
yeah. That's right.
I love when people describe my music with like different genres and different labels because it's just like it's really interesting to me to think like, oh, that's what that is. Because when I write, I'm never consciously thinking like, oh, this is what genre this is gonna be. It's just playing with sounds and playing with ideas until something that I think is like genuine and true comes out.
True.
There you go. See, that's what this is. That's its own genre right there. Something true and real. And as long as you keep doing that, I mean, I think of Beck, and you think of Beck and how unique he is as an artist, and he made it because of his uniqueness. And he can play all sorts of places. He can go to somebody's house and play a house show, or he can go and play a huge stadium because he has so much different diversity in his music, right? And that was my intro to like this is different. Or Primus is another one that I always thought was a unique band. Yeah, like just didn't fit into rock, didn't fit into kind of punk, but was a little bit of both. I love that stuff. Where I think that you kind of fit into that rap. You had a little bit of reggae, you had some jazz stuff, which is very EDM has a lot of genres, so you could probably fit into some of that. And house, I would say, even some of the world music where that fits into some of that as well. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, very sure.
Word.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. Good stuff. And so what is it? What's your future plans other than so you're doing you're releasing 2 new EPs and then you're doing a show, but then after that, what's the next steps and stuff?
So we got the October single dropping on the 14th. That's an acoustic story song called At the Diner, Coffee's Fine. It's just about life at a diner and kind of the different struggles that people that are like working in that position and living that lifestyle go through. November 18th, I believe, Kick 'em Down is coming out, which is just like, again, I've been writing a lot about like class struggle because it's like as I get more out into the world, especially in an industry or trying to get into an industry where connections and like who is everything. Just like I'm becoming a lot more aware of like class dynamics that I face and like other people face and stuff. So that's been a frequent subject of writing for me lately. But that's another song kind of about that, and how like people in power may not have like the best intentions, or like may have their own self-interests in mind a lot of the time. And then at the end of December, I have a song coming out called Fade Away, and then in parentheses it's like Would You Let Me? And I was just kind of like a dreamy, like synthy, like indie song. Something to vibe to, something to give people like a break from the heavy stuff at shows, really, so I can like talk about serious stuff, give people a minute to breathe, just kind of like vibe, chill, and then like maybe talk about something else that I feel is important. So I'm gonna have those coming out. Um, Honestly, beyond that, just stay the course, keep reaching out to people, keep getting shows when I can, keep making stuff, keep learning as much as I can, keep being around people who I feel like I can learn from. And I believe that the rest will come. The more I learn, the more I will be able to like plan strategically, so it's really just staying the course now, and taking opportunities where I can find them.
Just being persistent, and like I said, keep doing your thing. Doors are open. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta pick which door to go to, and that's what builds what you want. Build your brand. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Who you are.
Yeah, and you know what? And this is the interesting thing is, and when you look back, and I now I'm hitting those ages where you do the look back thing, and a lot of what you do in these stages of life is about no regrets. Writing about what you want to write about, doing what you want to do. Doesn't mean it at the expense of others, but being genuinely authentic with who you are as a person, and being able to spread that vibe is really important. And however you do it, and I think you're doing it musically, which is really, really good. But whatever that is for everybody is something important. And I think that I wish more people would have known that in their earlier days, because they wouldn't have been frustrated old people. I'm not that I'm a frustrated old person. I've made a lot of crazy decisions in my life, but I know a lot of people that are, in their 50s going, I wish I would have, fill in the blank. I wish I would have gone. There's times where I wish I would have been a musician and followed that dream that I had at one time when I was a teen. But, I was, we're all kind of influenced by different people who said either, hey, that's a really crazy lifestyle. Do you really want to do that when you have straight A's and you can do something else to help contribute to society? But what I think is sometimes what we don't think about in our 20s is that you're actually contributing, your words help contribute to the voice of what your generation is, and it's out there, right?
Word.
Right.
And that's
Word.
that's meaningful, and that's really meaningful, right?
We got Russ in the comments saying it's good to be around people you can mentor as well.
Okay. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, and that's the whole thing, is that I think that look up to those folks that have been there, learn from their experiences, because a fool learns from no other than just falling on their face, right? But I think that you have a really good mindset, and I think that growth mindset, that positive mindset, will help vibe you, getting you through to where you need to. And it's just like everybody says, to get in Nashville, it's going to take about 5 to 6 years, 7 years before you've networked enough to be able to know who to talk to. That's part of the game that you always have to play. I wish it wasn't like that. I wish that you could just create great music and you didn't have to go and market it. You could just create it, right? And then it would just magically come out into the world, and people would love it and everybody would listen to it. But it just doesn't. You have to play the game. There's a lot of politics involved, unfortunately. I think you writing about it is important because you're seeing it. And I think that's what your vibe is be able to see it and go, yeah, this is what this industry is. But you also have to play the game. It's a difficult industry.
Even developing your style. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you have like the rap that you like enjoy doing, and you have like the, this album right here that you put out. You have that style, so kind of you're just developing your own style. You're putting your stuff out there, being that like this is like your first album out there. You're kind of just reaching out to people and seeing what, how they grasp onto it. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of seeing what people can gauge off of that.
Yeah. So what is it? So what's driving you now? So other than, what keeps you going every day? Working 50 hours and then being able to do this, what's musically, what's helping you like just kind of progress? Is there some I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds like you have people around you, but is there anything musically that you're kind of attaching yourself into that you're kind of loving and vibing with?
So I guess just like I'm not sure if this is what you were asking, and please correct me if it's not. But like, what kind of motivates me is just like I think about like 10, 20 years right now. What kind of lifestyle do I want? Like, what do I want to be able to provide? Because like at the end of the day, like there are things in my life that I'd like to do, but it's like I'm gonna need to like have made something of myself to do these things. I would like to like I'd like to have the option to have a family 10, 15 years from now. If I'm going to do that, I need to be like financially stable. I want to be like worldly so I can like pass on like lessons and stuff. I'd like I'd like to like make genuine change, not just through like art, but like actually like have a net positive impact on like the way people interact in the world and stuff. And it's like right now, I feel that through writing music and using art and trying to build a platform, that's the best way to do that. But I'd ideally like to use that someday to catapult into like other ventures like charity and like just like doing like good non-music related work in the world, you know. So I just think about like where I want to be, like what I would like to do, and I think I know I need to like work hard and like build something to get where that is. So it's just that's kind of what keeps me going at the end of the day.
Dude, that was deep. That's actually really, really profound.
Right.
Um, I have so I have kids that I would love to have them hear that answer. Like, hey, I'll be honest with you. I'm always so grateful for folks in your age gap that are showing that type of attitude because sometimes I don't feel like that's the case. Um, I hang out with my kids and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, what is going on?" I mean, and not that my kids are horrible children, but sometimes I'm like, when I was that age, I wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking the same way you are, where how can I make this world a better place? Not, my kids want to play video games all day,
Mhm.
like 25, and they just want to talk about video games all day
Yeah.
and it's just like they're not working jobs, they're sleeping on my couch, you
Yeah,
know?
and I think a lot of that is like that the world we live in today is just very different than it used to be. Like we're all so overstimulated, like everything's easily accessible. It takes uh, no time at all to meet your basic needs for a day, and then you just have all this other time, and it's like obviously I don't know a lot about like biology or whatever, but I just feel that like we have evolved our technology past the point of what is natural to us, and that's throwing off our psyche and like our expectations and like what we want out of life. It's just confusing a lot of people internally, like myself included. And I feel that like with the overstimulation, like over sensation, we have so much access to like information that's irrelevant to our lives. It's just like a lot, and it's overwhelming for a lot of people. And I think that's something that like I'm sure a lot of people have faced before, but I feel like with the newer generations, that's like becoming more and more of like a present like challenge. Is how do you find something that's meaningful and genuine in a world where you're exposed to everything, you know?
True.
Oh shoot, I never you know what? That was another profound statement because I never thought about it like that, to be honest with you, because I grew up in a generation that was grounded. We went outside. That we were in the world all the time because
Yep.
there wasn't this other world. There was no other world. There was just you going playing with your friends and doing whatever. There wasn't social media. It wasn't like that. You just, your social media was your five friends
Mhm.
Yep.
and the gossip that you talked about around school. That was about it. And it stayed in that area. Nobody knew you outside of anywhere, and you weren't
Right.
definitely trying to get popular to other places. You just were
Mhm.
like, you couldn't get in front of a TV camera. You didn't even know anybody there was no constant in your face stimulation like you're talking about. And yeah, I can totally see where my kids feel like, hey, there's so much of this I have to it's like so big. It is. It's like so amazingly the IT, and I work IT, so I totally know how big it is. It is so huge and so growing every day that it's just going to get bigger. And I think that you can easily get lost in it. I get exactly what you're saying. That's very profound that you're astute on that situation completely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. That's actually, that helps me. That helps me. Let me tell you.
Hey, I'm glad.
Maybe I'll give my kids a little bit of a break. Like, hey, I know you're sitting on my couch, but it is really hard to try to figure out what they want to do. I have, my kids all don't know what they want to do when they grow up. And it's like one of them wants to follow, like, hey, dad did this, so that'll work. And that's what my one daughter's doing, who has a kid. But the other ones are like, hey, there's so much out there and so much stimulus. I don't know. And there's so many people telling you this is how to become successful at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I was at the gym today, and I know exactly what Instagram profile and what they got on the gym. Some guy was telling people how to do gym workouts this one way. And I'm like, I know exactly. I was sitting there chuckling because I saw this guy said this, if you do it this way. And I'm like, and you have no idea, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Maybe, does he? I don't know. He was just, he's on the internet. So you have to gauge, does this work based off of some guy who just has a phone, and that's his way of being able to express knowledge. Maybe it works because he goes to the gym a lot, but is it really factual?
Yeah.
You don't know.
And another layer of that is that if this man is running a successful page, that could be his main source of income. So it's in his best interest to create content, and whether or not it's factual may not always be the first priority, more so if it's like marketable and if it's something that can go viral, that's just something I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was
no. It's really astute. I appreciate that. That's, what your viewpoint on it is something that is, I have not heard this before, which is really good. I've heard a little bit of it, but you're putting it in words that make sense to me, because I'm just like, I watch these kids do this and I'm just like, back in the day you had to go to a gym and you had to pay a personal trainer, and the personal trainer had gone to college to be a personal trainer and he had a certification to do that. You don't know who this guy is, and you don't even know how he got famous. He could be famous because he's the world champion burper, while he's at the gym. He does something to get some notoriety at the gym and through these Instagram, links, and he just has a way of flashy being able to put it and publish it. And now he's telling people how to do it, and you're following this guy because you think that's the way, right? It's just interesting to me. There's a lot of those niches like that. We were in the beard community for a long time. It was a beard product community, and we found out what social media was about. That's why I got out of it, because I was like, ooh, this is what it's all about. No, not interested in that level. But we do this music thing, and if we could get a viral video to just go crazy, and we always are like, what can we do to make that viral video? And I don't know sometimes if we really want that, because I've also seen the negative of that, where people are constantly in your comments being just completely dropping you just because you look ugly. I get that a lot, I'm sure. Like, hey, that guy looks ugly. He rattles a lot. He talks a lot. He's old. He's an old head. I got told I was an old head. I don't know what an old head is, but an old head. One of my kids, he says, you're an old head. You old heads. I'm like, old heads? I don't even think you know what old head is. Like 90s, maybe old head. They're old. I'm young, damn it. How do you look at the older generation, Steven? Do you look at them with respect and like they have stuff to learn, or you're like, those old heads?
No, not at all. I think you can learn from every single person. This is something like I had someone told me this about my life one time. They said something, and I'm paraphrasing, but they said, like, if you could see your life like a movie start to finish, everything that you are now and everything you do would make sense. So I try to keep that mindset with anyone I meet, because really, like, it I I don't know anyone's full story. I don't know anyone's background. I don't know anyone's experiences. I think it would be ridiculous to say that, like, oh, people born in the 60s and 70s, they're out of touch. They don't know anything. But like me, being born in the last 25 years exclusively out of thousands and thousands of years of humanity, I don't see it like that. I just feel like everyone has insight, everyone has experience. And I think maybe the way and people view the world because of their experiences, I think there can be some flaws and misconceptions that come about that are not like necessarily conducive or like right. But I'm never going to like write someone off just because like they're from a different time or they have a different mindset, because at the end of the day, like, if you meet someone with a different perspective than yours, I see that as like an opportunity just to learn, learn more about the world, learn more about someone else, in a way, like learn more about yourself.
You can't really talk about anything unless you've opened the book. You know what I'm saying? Or have you seen? You know what I'm saying? You can't really talk about a book unless you opened it. You know what I'm saying? So you can't really say talk about somebody without talking to them and knowing what their history is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you know.
Yeah.
Do you know what? So I'm going to tell you the reason why I ask all these questions, because I knew based off your music, you had some insight, my friend. And I thought that tapping into some of that would be cool for tonight, because I'm really into that space too, learning about people being very open, very genuine. And I got that from your music, my friend.
Word.
It's good. It really is good stuff, and very raw and very insightful. And you're showing it right now how insightful with your responses. So I really appreciate your time and your effort. We're at that time where we have to say goodbye, but James, what do you got? Any last thoughts?
No, man, it's literally been amazing. So we do this every week. I know we say the same thing every week with like ending it with our guest and learning. Each guest we learn a little bit more about that person and learn about their music, even though it's it's not metal. If it's something else, it's a different genre. Like your genre is something that we've kind of never really dug into. We've dug into like rock and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But we're digging into this and listening to your album and going through it. And I'm glad I got everything right, which with what I learned through listening to your music. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad I got each act right and what I thought in my own perspective, what that meant to me. And each one sounds different. Each one sounds, you kind of gauge from the lyrics what it means. And so you can kind of piece it together as what you think it might be. And I'm glad I gauged that just the right way. And but yeah, it's been amazing to listen to your stuff, and we definitely look forward to seeing you progress, and definitely having you on again later on in the future. You know what I'm saying? I know you're starting out with your music, and you're starting out with your shows and stuff like that. Talking to you later on down the road when you've had multiple shows down, on the books. You know what I'm saying, and talking about that experience from when you first started to where you're going to be in a couple of years. So
I'd love to, and I appreciate y'all having me on. This has been really fun.
Yeah, it's been a blast. I always enjoy this. Any last thoughts, Darcy? Do you want to, or Steven?
It's all good, either or. Um, I don't know, just like to y'all or to the world. Like, is
To
this
the
just like
world.
a
What do you got to
to the
say? What do you got to
world,
say to the world at this
man?
age?
Just love each other. Love each
There,
other, man.
there you go. There you
That's
go.
all I got.
There you go. That's all that matters. And we always leave it with the last words. What do you got to say, James?
it's been amazing, guys. But yeah, last words. We stay tasty, and we'll see you next week.
Word.
See you.